Welcome to the A to Z Guide to a PhD. A PhD is a doctorate of philosophy. I'm going to be using slides courtesy of Matt Might, who illustrates it like this. Imagine a circle that contains all of human knowledge. Everything that everybody knows is in this circle. By the time you finish primary school, you know a little. There's still lots to learn about the world. By the time you finish secondary school and college or sixth form, you know a bit more. But look at all that white space, there's still so much to know. With an undergraduate degree, you gain a specialty. That is, you decide what you're interested in and you study it in depth. If you study physics, for example, then you won't be studying chemistry, art, or geography. That's why the red-coloured blob isn't a circle anymore. Your knowledge is becoming specialised. Not everyone knows it. A master's degree deepens that specialty. That extra year of studying means you now know a lot about your specialist subject, and it's even more specialised than your undergraduate degree. For instance, a physicist may choose to further specialise in medical physics. At the start of a PhD, you spend a lot of time reading research papers. These are reports of what other people have found out by doing research. You need to become immersed in your subject area. By the end of this time, you will know everything there is to know about your specialist subject. For instance, perhaps you are focused on how emboli, which are little blood clots that can travel from the artery in a patient's neck and into their brain, causing them to have a stroke, can be detected and counted so that they can be treated. Once you're at the boundary, you focus even more. You want to find out how many emboli you need to detect before you start treating a patient with a medicine to thin their blood and hence prevent the patient from having a stroke. You push at that boundary for a few years. You try things out. You take measurements. You count emboli and you see what happens. You treat patients and see how many strokes you can prevent. Until one day, the boundary gives way. You have discovered new knowledge. You now know at what point you need to start treating a patient to prevent them from having a stroke. This process usually takes about 3 years. And that dent you've made is called a PhD. You write it up in a long report. 2 examiners read it and interview you about your research. And when you pass this interview, you have a PhD and can call yourself a doctor. This isn't a medical doctor, but rather a doctor of philosophy. In this example, I've used medical physics, but you can get a PhD in anything: humanities, maths, art, computer science. As long as you are discovering new knowledge, you can study for a PhD. Of course, the world looks different to you now. So much of life has been taken over by your PhD. So don't forget the bigger picture.